Hey everyone, it's Noah, and I'm here to tell you about our sponsor and lifeline to all of our nerdy escapades here at the Where They Mused. That's our LGS, the Warp Gate. Ben, Dakota, and I use them to purchase all of our TCGs, tabletop, and RPG needs and accessories. But Noah, I hear you rumbling, I don't have a cool, awesome LGS to get this stuff from. Well, luckily for you, the Warp Gate has a website and ships domestically all across the US. Check out their website, thewarpgate.net, or click on the link in the video description below to browse their vast catalog of TCG, tabletop, and RPG items. Don't forget to also use the code WEIRD10 for 10% off your purchase at checkout.
There we go. Okay. Yay, technical difficulties as soon as you start. So, everybody, welcome back to the Weirdly Amused. As you can see, I have not removed the plastic yet, so I have not tampered with any of the packaging. But we're going to open up a booster box of Wilds of Eldraine, graciously given to us by our sponsor at the Warp Gate. It's a little art thing on top of it. It's pretty cool. Gingerbread person on a gingerbread horse. But go check out our sponsors, the Warp Gate. They graciously gave us this box to open on stream. You know, I got scissors. Trying to cut the. Oh, immediately got a planeswalker on top. Oko the Trickster. 4 loyalty, +1, put 2+1/+1 counters on up to 1 target creature you control. 0. Let's see that. It's good now. I just refreshed the page. But until end of turn, Oko the Trickster becomes a copy of target creature you control. Prevent all damage that will be dealt to him this turn. Then -7 until end of turn. Each creature you control has base power and toughness 10/10 and gains trample. Storyteller Pixie, 3/3 flying. When you cast an adventure spell, draw a card. And here's our first what did I say it was called earlier? Enchanting Tales card. Season's Growth is an enchantment that whenever enters the battlefield, under your control, scry 1, and then whenever you cast a spell that targets a creature you control, you draw a card. So we'll probably get at least one of these types of cards in each pack, which is pretty cool. Moonshaker Cavalry, 6/6 flying. When Moonshaker Cavalry enters the battlefield, creatures you control gain flying and get +X/+X until end of turn, where X is the number of creatures you control. Put some of these in piles. Charging Hooligan. And if I get multiples of these throughout the pack opening, I'm just going to read the name and not continually read the abilities. 3/3, when Charging Hooligan attacks, it gets +1/+0 until end of turn for each attacking creature. If a rat is attacking, it gets trample until end of turn. Royal Treatment. Target creature you control gains hexproof until end of turn. Create a royal roll token attached to that creature. And the royal roll gives it +1/+1 and ward 1. Sir Armant the Redeemer. 4/4, when Sir Armant the Redeemer enters the battlefield, create a monster roll token attached to another target creature you control. And the monster roll gives a creature +1/+1 and trample, and then enchanted creatures get +1/+1. Red Tooth Vanguard, 3/1 trample. Whenever an enchantment enters the battlefield under your control, You may pay 2. If you do, return red 2 with Vanguard from your graveyard to the battle or to your hand. Conceited Witch, a 2/3 that has an adventure side on it. So the adventure is Price of Beauty. You pay 1, and then it's a sorcery that you create a wicked roll attached to target creature you don't or you control, and then it has menace. Torch the Tower, an instant with bargain, and the bargain ability is you can sacrifice an artifact, enchantment, or token when you cast this spell. And then Torch the Tower deals 2 damage to target creature or planeswalker. If this spell was bargained, instead it deals 3 damage to that permanent and you scry 1. If a permanent dealt damage by Torch the Tower would die this turn, exile it instead. Return Triumphant. Return target creature card with mana value 3 or less from graveyard to the battlefield. Create a Young Hero Roll token attached to it. And then if when it attacks, if its toughness is 3 or less, you put a +1/+1 counter on it. Misleading Moats. Target creature's owner puts it on the top or bottom of the library. We've got a Swamp, and that is our art card. So on top, we got a treasure token. Ego Drain. Target opponent reveals their hand. You choose an on-land card from it. That player discards a card. If you don't control a fairy, exile a card from your hand. Grasp of Fate. This is our second Enchanting Tales card. So when Grasp of Fate enters the battlefield, for each opponent, exile up to 1 target non-land permanent that player controls until Grasp of Fate leaves the battlefield. It's a pretty good card. A Tale for the Ages. Enchantment. Enchanted creatures you control get +2/+2. Provisions Merchant. When Provision Merchant enters the battlefield, you create a food token. Food tokens have pay 2, tap it, and sacrifice it. You gain 3 life. It is a 3/3, and when Prosperous Merchant attacks, you may sacrifice a food. If you do, attacking creatures get +1/+1 and gain trample until end of turn. Solitary Sanctuary. Are those coming up well on stream? Yeah, I see that. There we go. No, we got one again. Whenever you untap a creature an opponent controls, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. Bitter Chill. Aura that says enchant creature. When Bitter Chill enters the battlefield, enchant target creature. Enchanted creature doesn't untap during its controller's untap step. And when Bitter Chill is put to a graveyard from the battlefield, you may pay 1. If you do, scry 1, draw a card. Tenacious Tombseeker is a 3/2 for 3 mana. When Tenacious Tombseeker enters the battlefield, if it was bargained, return target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard to your hand. That's pretty good, actually. Candy Trail is 1 mana artifact. It is also considered a food and a clue token. When Candy Trail enters the battlefield, scry 2. You can pay 2, tap, and sacrifice Candy Trail. You gain 3 life and draw a card. Ginger Brute. Gingerbread is a 1 mana, 1/1 artifact creature food golem. Has haste. You can pay 1, and Gingerbread can't be blocked this turn except by creatures with haste. You can pay 2, sacrifice Gingerbread, and draw and gain 3 life. Territorial Witchstalker is a 2/3 with Defender. At the beginning of your combat on your turn, if you control a creature with power 4 or greater, it gets +1/+1 until end of turn and can attack as though it didn't have Defender. Besotted Knight is a 3/3 with an adventure on it. Betrothed the Beast for 1 mana. It's a sorcery. Create a Royal Roll token attached to a creature you control. And it's a swamp and the Arc. I kind of like shielding. Another treasure token. Hamlet Glutton. 1 second. We've got Hamlet Glutton is a 6/6 for 7 mana. It has Bargain. If it was Bargain, it costs 2 less to cast. Has Trample, and when it enters the battlefield, you gain 3 life. Hatching Plans is a 2 mana enchantment that says when Hatching Plans is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, draw 3 cards. Twinning Twins is a 4 mana 4/4 with Flying Vigilance and Ward 1, and has Swifted Spiral as an adventure. You can pay 2, 1 and a white as an instant, and exile target non-creature. Return it to the battlefield under its owner control at the beginning of the next end step. Chancellor of Tales is a 2/3 for 4 mana, is a fairy advisor. Has flying, and when you cast an adventure spell, you may copy it. You may choose new targets for the copy. Ego Drain. Abria, Dreaming Duelist, is a 2 mana 2/2 with flash, flying, and when another fairy enters the battlefield under your control, each opponent loses 1 life. Succumb to the Cold is a 3 mana instant. Tap up to 2 target creatures and opponent controls. Put a stun counter on each of them. Ice Rot Sentry is a 3 mana 2/3 with Vigilance, and whenever Ice Rot Sentry attacks, you may pay 2. When you do, tap target creature and opponent controls. Whenever you tap an untap creature and opponent controls, Ice Rot Sentry gets +2/+1 until the end of turn. Borrow Nadi is a 2 mana 1/3 fairy with flying. Burrow Nadi has lifelink as long as you control a fairy. Pay 3 mana, it gets +1/+0 until end of turn. Cooped Up is an aura that says enchanted creature can't attack or block. And you can pay 3 to exile enchanted creature. Sleight of Hand, 1 mana, look at the top 2 cards of your library, put one of them into your hand and the other on the bottom of your library. A Foil Forest, and the Arc card. New token. Savior of Sleeping, 2/3 with Vigilance for 3. Whenever an enchantment you control is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on Savior of Sleeping. Leyline of the Void. That's a good one. It's a 4-mana enchantment. If Leyline of the Void is in your opening hand, you may begin the game with it on the battlefield. If a card would be put into an opponent's graveyard from anywhere, exile it instead. Hilda's Crown of Winter is a 3-mana legendary artifact that says pay 1, tap, target creature. Pay 1 and tap it, tap target creature. This ability costs 1 less to activate during your turn, so it's free on your turn. Pay 3, sacrifice it, and draw a card for each tap creature your opponent controls. That's pretty good. Abria, Dreaming Duelist. Fairy Fencing. It's a target creature. It's an instant where target creature gets -X/-X until end turn, where X is that creature gets an additional -3/-3 until end turn if you control a fairy as you cast it. Dream Spoilers. It's a 4-mana 2/2 with flying. Whenever you cast a spell during an opponent's turn, up to 1 target creature an opponent controls gets -1/-1 until end turn. High Fae Negotiator is a 3/5 with bargain, has flying, and whenever High Fae Negotiator enters the battlefield, if it was bargained, each opponent loses 3 life and you gain 3 life. Soul Guide Lantern is a 1-mana artifact. Whenever Soul Guide Lantern enters the battlefield, exile a target card from a graveyard. Tap it, sacrifice Soul Guide Lantern, exile each opponent's graveyard, or you can pay 1, sacrifice, and draw a card. Ferocious Werefox is a 4-mana 4/3 with trample. Has guard change for 2 mana. Instant adventure. Create a monster roll token attached to a target creature you control. Curse of the Werefox. Create a monster roll where attached to target creature you control. When you do, that creature fights up to 1 target creature you don't control. Red Tooth Genealogist is a 2/3 for 3 mana. Is a Elf Advisor. And when Red Tooth Genealogist enters the battlefield, create a royal roll token attached to another target creature you control. We got a Full Art Swamp. Very pretty. And our art token. We got a Human Creature token. Misleading Motes. Target creature's owner puts it on the bottom or top. I think we've got that one already. Prismatic Omens. This is a good one. 2 mana enchantment that says lands you control have every basic land type in addition to their other types. Ooh, we got 2 in this one. Blind Obedience, which is a really good one. I've actually been wanting to get this card. I'm glad I got this. The Blind Obedience is a 2-mana enchantment that has Extort, meaning when you cast a spell, you can pay either white or black. And if you do, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain that much life. And then artifacts and creatures your opponents control enter the battlefield tapped. The Iron Crag is a 2-mana legendary artifact. You can tap it for 1 mana. When a legendary creature enters the battlefield under your control, you may have the Iron Crag become a legendary equipment artifact named Everflame Hero's Legacy. If you do, it gains Equip 3, and Equip creature gets +3/+3 and loses all other abilities. Howling Galefang is a 4-mana 4/4 with Vigilance, and as long as you can, it has haste as long as you control card in exile that has an adventure. Stormkill Vanguard is a 6 mana 6/7. Stormkill Vanguard can't be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less. Has an adventure called Bear Down. For 2 mana, destroy target artifact or enchantment. Galvanic Giant is a 4 mana 3/3 with whenever you cast a spell with mana value 5 or greater, tap target creature and opponent controls and put a stun counter. If you don't know what a stun counter is, it means it can't untap during its untap step. And then it has a adventure instant. It's called Storm Reading. For 7 mana, you can draw 4 cards and then discard 2. Redcap Thief is a 3 mana 2/3. When Redcap Thief enters the battlefield, create a treasure token. He is a Goblin Rogue. Archon's Glory is an instant with bargain. Target creature gets +2/+2 until end of turn. If a spell was bargained, that creature also gains flying and lifelink until end of turn. Break the Spell is a 1 mana instant that says destroy target enchantment. If a permanent you control or token was destroyed this way, draw a card. Minecart Daredevil is a 3 mana 4/2 with an adventure instant that's called Ride the Rails. For 2 mana, target creature gets +2/+1 until end of turn. We have a Full Art Mountain, which kind of goes along with the last card we got, which was Minecart Daredevil. And we have like a mountain that has railroad tracks all over it. And our art card. We have Endless Obedience, which says Convoke, and put target creature card from a graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. Convoke says that creatures can can tap and act as mana for a color that they have in their identity towards casting the spell. We have a foil Vampiric Rites that is a Enchanting Tales card. Enchantment, pay 2, sacrifice a creature, you gain 1 life and draw a card. Another one, Goblin Bombardment. 2 mana enchantment, sacrifice a creature, Goblin Bombardment deals 1 damage to any target. Ooh, a third one, Impact Tremors. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, Impact Tremors deals 1 damage to each opponent. That was a hot pack. We got 3 of the Enchanting Tales in 1 pack. Spellbook Vendor is a 2/2 Vigilance. Beginning of combat on your turn, you may pay 1. If you do, create a Sorcerer Roll token attached to it. Sorcerer Roll says enchanted creature gets +1/+1, and whenever this creature attacks, scrap it. We have Charade of Nimbling Depths is a 4 mana 2/3 Merfolk Wizard that says when Charade of Nimbling Depths enters the battlefield, tap target creature and opponent controls and put a stun counter on it. And whenever you tap one or more untapped creatures your opponent's control, draw a card. This ability triggers only once each turn. Solidarity Sanctuary Got that one already earlier. Bitter Chill. Charmed Clother is a 3/3 of flying, and when it enters the battlefield, you create a royal roll token. Protective Parents is a 3/2 human peasant. When Protective Parents dies, create a young hero roll token attached to up to one target creature. Witch's Mark is a sorcery. You may discard a card. If you do, draw a card, or draw 2 cards. Create a wicked roll token attached to up to one target creature control. Titanic Growth. Instant. Gives target creature +4/+4 to end turn. Island. And the art card. Got a fairy token. Callous Sellsword is a 2/2 for 2 mana. Callous Sellsword enters the battlefield with a +1/+1 counter on it for each creature that died under its control. Has an adventure sorcery that says Burn Together. Pay 1 red mana. Target creature you control deals damage equal to its power to any other target, then sacrifice it. Sorry, I was responding to Justin. Compulsion is a 2 mana enchantment. Pay 2, discard a card, draw a card. Pay 2, sacrifice Compulsion, and you draw Garrett's Uprising. 3 mana enchantment. When it enters the battlefield, if you control a creature with 4 or greater, with power 4 or greater, draw a card. Creatures you control have trample, and whenever a creature with power 4 or greater enters the battlefield under your control, draw a card. Intangible Virtue, 2 mana enchantment. Creature tokens you control have +1/+1 and vigilance. Elvish Archivist is a 0/3 2 mana that says whenever one or more artifacts enters the battlefield under your control, put 2 +1/+1 counters on Elvish Archivist. This ability triggers only once each turn. Whenever one or more enchantments enter the battlefield under your control, draw a card. This ability triggers only once each turn. Disdainful Stroke, instant, counter target spell with mana value 4 or greater. Archive Dragon is a 6 mana 4/3 of flying ward 2. When Archive Dragon enters the battlefield, scry 2. Up the Beanstalk is a 2 mana enchantment. When Up the Beanstalk enters the battlefield, and whenever you cast a spell with mana value 5 or greater, draw a card. Verdant Outrider is a 3 mana 4/2, pay 2. Verdant Outrider can't be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less. Fell Horseman is a 3/3 zombie knight that says when Fell Horseman dies, put it on the bottom of its owner's library, and has Deathly Ride, Sorcery, Adventure, return target creature or card from your graveyard to your hand. Savior of the Sleeping is a 2/3 with vigilance. Whenever an enchantment you control is put to a graveyard from the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on it. A foil full art planes. And the art card. Alana, I know you said you got that bundle. You want to open that on camera? Or just gonna... I said I know you got that bundle. Did you want to open that on camera, or are you gonna just open that separately? Okay. Okay. Oh, I've already seen the card that's in this, and it's pretty freaking disgusting. Um, that's a foil land tax. I'm gonna look that up real quick. Foil full art land tax. Yeah, if you can. And it would be the set would be the Eldraine Enchanting Tale set. Grateful Airy is a at the beginning of your end step. If you gain 3 or more life this turn, how much is it for that one? Okay, and that's the foil one. Okay, very cool. We got Curiosity. It's a 1 mana enchant creature. When enchanted creature deals combat damage or deals damage to an opponent, you may draw a card. Mosswood Dreadknight is a 3/2 trample. When it dies, you may cast it from your graveyard as an adventure until the end of your next turn. That's actually really good. Dread Whispers has adventure sorcery. You draw a card and lose 1 life. Fairy Fencing. Tenacious Tombseeker. High Fane Negotiator. Soul Guide Lantern. Spell Stutter is a 2 mana instant. Counter target spell unless its controller pays 2 plus an additional 1 for each fairy you control. Good card if you're building a fairy deck. Abria's Attendant is a 3/4 flying. Desperate Parry is a 2 mana instant adventure. Target creature gets -4/-0 until end of turn. Sky Beast Tracker, 2/4 with reach. When you cast a spell with mana value 5 or greater, create a food token. Planes. And a signed anime art card. That's very hot. Another fairy token. Frantic Firebolt. is a 3-mana instant. Frantic Firebolt deals X damage to target creature, where X is 2 plus the number of cards in your graveyard that are instant, sorceries, or cards that have adventure. Leyline of Abundance. That's a good one. 4-mana enchantment. If it's in your opening hand, you begin the game with it on the battlefield. Whenever you tap a creature for mana, add an additional green. You can pay 6 and 2 green to put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. Dark Tutelage. Beginning of your upkeep, reveal the top card of your library and put that card into your hand. Lose life equal to the mana value. Oh, I want to build a deck with this card. Rowan, Scion of War. 4/2 human wizard for 3 mana, has menace, and tap spells you cast that are black and or red cost X less to cast, where X is the amount of life you've lost this turn. A lot of those red X spells just got real big. Knight of Doves is a 1/3. Whenever an enchantment you control is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, create a 1/1 white bird creature token with flying. Cheeky House Mouse is a 2/1 for 1 mana. Has a sorcery venture called Squeak By. Every creature you control gets +1/+1 until end of turn. It can't be blocked by creatures with power 3 or greater this turn. That's cute. Spell Scorn Coven is a 2/3 for 4 mana that is a fairy warlock. Has flying, and when Spell Scorn Coven enters the battlefield, each opponent discards a card. And then the adventure is an instant called Take It Back. There's a 3 mana return target spell to its owner's hand. Leaping Ambush, 1 mana instant. Target creature gets +2/+3 and gains reach until end of turn. Untap it. Hollow Scavengers, a 3/2 for 3 mana. You can pay 1 and sacrifice it, or sacrifice a food, and it gets +2/+2 until end of turn. Activate only once each turn. And then you can pay 1 mana as a adventure sorcery and create a food token. Commune with Nature is a 1 mana. Look at the top 5 cards of your library. You may reveal a creature card from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom in a random order, or in any order. Bestial Bloodline. I believe we've seen that one already. A regular mountain. And a cute little art card. Little Magic minigame card. Tanglespan's Lookout is a 2/3. Whenever an aura enters the battlefield under your control, you can draw a card. Season's Growth, we got that guy already. The Apprentice's Folly is a 4 mana saga that says your first 2 modes say choose target non-token creature you control that doesn't have the same name as a token you already control. Create a token that's a copy of it, except it isn't legendary and is a reflection in addition to its other types, and it has haste. And then the third mode is sacrifice all reflections you control. And if anybody doesn't know how to activate sagas, they activate after your draw step. Fairy Dream Thief is a 1/1 1 mana flying fairy, and when it enters the battlefield, you surveil one. Surveil, you look at the top card of your library, and you can leave it on top or put it into your graveyard. And then you can pay 3, exile it from your graveyard. You can draw a card and lose 1 life. Twisted Sewer Witch is a 3/4 for 5 mana human warlock. When Twisted Sewer Witch enters the battlefield, create a 1/1 black rat creature token. This creature can't block. Then for each rat you control, create a Wicked Roll token attached to it. Tattered Ratter is a 2/2 human peasant. Whenever a rat you control becomes blocked, it gets +2/+0 until end of turn. Totentan's Swarm Piper is a 3-mana 2/3 legendary human warlock bard that whenever Totentan's Swarm Piper or another non-token creature you control dies, create a 1/1 black rat creature token. This creature can't block, and you can pay 2. Target attacking rat you control gains Death Touch until end of turn. Feed the Cauldron. Destroy target creature with mana value 3 or less. If it's your turn, create a food token. Hopeful Vigil is a 2-mana enchantment. Whenever Hopeful Vigil enters the battlefield, create a 2/2 White Knight creature token with Vigilance. Whenever Hopeful Vigil enters the battlefield, whenever Hopeful Village is put into a graveyard, scry 2. Then you can pay 3 and sacrifice it. Hopeless Nightmare is a 1-mana enchantment. When it enters the battlefield, each opponent discards a card. When it's put into the graveyard, scry 2, and then you can pay 3 to sacrifice it. Wicked Visitor, 2/2. When an enchantment you control is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, each opponent loses a life. Swamp, and another signed art card. We got the Capenna Express, which is a 6/6 for 3 mana. It's a vehicle. Sacrifice a treasure, and you can crew it. Or you can crew 3 with your creatures like you usually would. Stingblade Assassin is a 3/1 for 4, flash flying. When it enters the battlefield, destroy target creature under opponent controls that was dealt damage. Another Curiosity. Ingenious Prodigy, 0/1 human wizard that has blue and X, has Skulk, meaning this creature can't be blocked by creatures with greater power than it. When it enters the battlefield, you put X +1/+1 counters on it at the beginning of your upkeep. If Ingenious Prodigy has 1 or more +1/+1 counters on it, you may remove a +1/+1 counter on it. If you do, draw a card. Mosswood Dread Knight is a 3/2 with trample. When it dies, you may cast it. Oh, we got that guy already. This is just a different art. Lord Skitter's Butcher is a 2/3 rat peasant for 3 mana. When Lord Skitter's Butcher enters the battlefield, choose 1, create a 1/1 rat creature token that can't block. You may sacrifice another creature. If you do, scry 2 and draw a card. Or you can, creatures you control gain menace until end of turn. Callous Sellsword. Corvold, the Noble Thief, is a saga for 4 mana. First 2 modes, you create a treasure token. And then the third mode, exile the top 3 cards of target opponent's library. You may play those cards this turn. Scream Puff is a 4/5 horror with Death Touch. When Scream Puff deals combat damage to a player, create a food token. I think that's supposed to be a take on the marshmallow guy from Ghostbusters. Monstrosity is a 3/1 1/1 when Atrocity dies, create a food token. Handy Grapple is a 1-mana instant with bargain. Target creature gets -3/-3 until end of turn. If it was bargained with, it gets -5 instead. Warehouse Tabby is a 1-mana 1/1 cat. Whenever an enchantment you control is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, create a 1/1 black rat creature token that can't block. And you can pay 2. Warehouse Tabby gains Death Touch until end of turn. So K-Cat. Foil Island. And our art card. High Negotiator. Eric Wrights. Another Spiteful Hexmage. Corval Gleeful Glutton is a 8-mana 4/4. This spell costs 1 less to cast for each type among permanents you've sacrificed this turn. Has Flying, Trample, and Haste. Whenever Corval deals combat damage to a player, put X +1/+1 counters on Corval, then draw X cards, where X is the number of permanents among cards that are in your graveyard. Spell Scorn Coven. Got that guy already. Knight of Droves. Cheeky House Mouse. Diminisher Witch is a 3/2 for 3 with bargain. And Diminisher Witch enters the battlefield. If it was bargained, create a Curse Roll token attached to target creature and opponent controls. Sweet Tooth Witch is a 3/2, 3-mana human warlock. When it enters the battlefield under control, create a food token. Sacrifice a food, target player loses 2. Return from the Wilds as a 3-mana sorcery. You can choose 2. Search your library for basic land, put that card on the battlefield tapped, then shuffle your library. Create a 1/1 human creature or create a food. Stormcowl Prower, Plains, and the art card. Consume Spirit. 2 and an X. Spend only black mana on X. Consume Spirit deals X damage to target creature or player, and you gain X life. Gnawing Crescendo is a 3-mana instant. Creatures you control get +2/+0 until end of turn. Whenever a non-token creature you control deals this turn, or you control dies, create a 1/1 black rat creature token this turn. Dragon Mantle, 1-mana aura, enchant creature. When Dragon Mantle enters the battlefield, draw a card. You can pay red, and creature gets +1/+0 until end of turn. Food Fight is a 2-mana enchantment. Artifacts you control have pay 2, sacrifice this artifact. It deals damage. It deals damage to any target equal to 1 plus the number of permanents named Food Fight. Refless Bivouac is a land. Comes into play taps for red or white. You can pay 3, and it becomes a 2/2 red white Ox creature token until end of turn. It's still a land. And when it attacks, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. Wildwood Mentor. Troyan, Gutsy Explorer is a 3-mana 1/3 legendary creature, the deck and scout. You can tap it to add green and blue to your mana pool. Spin this only to cast creature spells with mana value 5 or greater, or spells with X in their mana cost. You can pay 1, tap it, draw a card, then discard a card. Tempest Heart. Collector's Vault is a 2 mana artifact that says pay 2, tap it, draw a card, then discard a card, and create a treasure chest. Joanne's Stopgap is a 4 mana sorcery with bargain. Costs 2 less to cast if it was bargain. Return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand, then draw a card. Sugar Rush is a 2 mana instant that says target creature gets +3/+0 until end of turn, and then you draw a card. Quick Study, 3 mana instant, draw 2 cards. Island, and the art card. Food token. Ooh, another Rowan, but this is the foil full art. Shared Animosity is a 3 mana enchantment. Whenever a creature you control attacks, it gets +1/+0 until end of turn for each other attacking creature that shares a creature type. Yenna Red Tooth Regent, 4 mana for legendary creature Elf Noble. 2 mana, tap, choose target enchantment you control that doesn't have the same name as another permanent you control. Create a token that's a copy of it, except it isn't legendary. If the token is an aura, untap Yenna Red Tooth Regent, then create, and then scry to activate this ability only as a sorcery. Dream Swirlers, Fairy Dream Thief. Neva Stalked by Nightmares is a 4/4, or I'm sorry, a 2/2 4 mana legendary creature human noble with menace. When Neva Stalked by Nightmares enters the battlefield, return target creature or enchantment card you can from your graveyard to your hand. When an enchantment you control is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on Neva and scry 1. Twisted Sweet Witch, 5 mana, 3/4, human warlock. When Twisted Sweet Witch enters the battlefield, create a 1/1 black rat creature token. This creature can't block. Then for each rat you control, create a Wicked Roll token attached to the rat. Spider Food is a 3 mana sorcery. Target or destroy target artifact, enchantment, or creature with flying. Create a food token. Scarecrow Guide, 2 mana, 2/1 Scarecrow with reach. Pay 1, add 1 mana of any color. Activate this only once each turn. Beanstalk Worm is a 5/4 plant worm with reach. Has a sorcery adventure. Plant beans, pay 2. You may play an additional land this turn. Bellana's Gatekeeper is a 7 mana 6/5 giant soldier. Entry Denied is the name of its adventure. It's a sorcery you can pay 2 for. Return target creature you don't control with mana value 3 or less to its owner's hand. A forest, and the art card. Minx and Boo, Timeless Heroes. This is from the D&D set. Back for Seconds is a 3 mana with Bargain. Return up to 2 target creature cards from your graveyard to your hand. And then if it was bargained, you may put one of those cards with mana value 4 or greater or 4 or less onto the battlefield instead of putting it into your hand. Spreading Seas. Restless Spire is a land that comes into play taps for red or blue. You can pay red and blue to make it a 2/3 blue-red elemental creature, and as long as it's your turn, it has first strike, and then when it attacks, you scry 1. Ashiok's Reaper, 3/3 4 mana nightmare. Whenever an enchantment you control is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, draw a card. Eerie Interference is a 3 mana instant. Prevent all damage that will be dealt to you and creatures you control this turn. Glass Casket is a 2 mana artifact. Enters the battlefield, exile target creature an opponent controls with mana value 3 or less. Frolicking Familiar is a 3 mana 2/2 otter wizard with flying. Whenever you cast it into a sorcery spell, Frolicking Familiar gets +1/+1 until end of turn. And you can pay 1 and pay Blow Off Steam as an instant adventure. Blow Off Steam deals 1 damage to any target. Water Wings is an instant. Target creature you control has base power and toughness 4/4 and gains flying and hexproof. Moment of Valor is an instant. 3 mana, choose 1. Tap target creature and opponent. Tap target creature, it gets +1. I'm sorry. Untap target creature, it gets +1/+1 till end of turn and gains indestructible. And then destroy target creature with power 4 or greater. Toadstool Admirer. Slumbering Guardkeep is a 1 mana 1/1 human knight. Whenever an enchantment enters the battlefield under your control, scry 1. A forest. And the Arc. And we got an Academy Manufacturer. Academy Manufacturer is a 3 mana artifact creature assembly worker. If you would create a clue, food, or treasure token, instead create 1 of each. Another Charade Nimbling Depths. Kindred Discovery, a 5 mana enchantment. As Kindred Discovery enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. Whenever a creature you control of the chosen type enters the battlefield or attacks, draw a card. Pollen Shield Hare is a 2 mana 2/2 rabbit with creatures you control get +1/+1. And Hair Raising is the sorcery adventurer for 1 mana. Target creature you control gains vigilance and gets +X/+X until an turn, where X is the number of creatures you control. Neva Stalked by Nightmares. Iratet's Tempting Apple is a 4 mana legendary artifact food. When it enters the battlefield, gain control of target creature until end of turn. Untap that creature, it gains haste until end of turn. And then you can pay 2, tap it, sacrifice it, and gain 3 life. Or you can sacrifice it and an opponent loses 3 life. Stone Splitting Bolt. Agatha's Champion, 5 mana, 4/4 with Bargain, Trample, and enters the battlefield. If it was bargained, it fights up to 1 target creature you don't control. Panic Ruiner is a 2 mana 2/2. Whenever it attacks while you control a creature with power 4 or greater, gains double strike. Stolen Goodies, 4 mana sorcery adventure. Distribute 3+1/+1 counters among any number of target creatures you control. Gnawing Crescendo, Hired Spear Guard, Rat Out, Forest, Treasure, Nappy Giant, 3/4 for 4 mana. The Giant with Reach, you can pay 3, sacrifice an artifact or land, draw a card, and then the instant adventure is That's Mine. 2 mana, create a treasure token. Grasp of Fate, I got that earlier. Lord Skitter's Blessing, Painted Ratter, Totentan's Swarm Piper, Lord Skitter's Butcher, Candy Trail, Ginger Brute, Territorial Witch Stalker, Billowing Bruiser, Vantress Transmuter, and food token, Territorial Witch Stalker, Waste Not. This is a good one. 2 mana enchantment that says when an opponent discards a creature card, you create a 2/2 black zombie creature token. Whenever an opponent discards a land card, you create 2 black mana. Whenever an opponent discards a non-creature, non-land card, draw a card. Rankle's Prank is a 4 mana sorcery that says choose 1 or more. You can discard 2 cards. Each player loses 4 life, or each player sacrifices 2 creatures. Hearth Elemental is a 6 mana 4/5 that this spell costs X less to cast, where X is the number of cards in your graveyard that have instant, sorcery, or adventures. It has Stroke Genius. Pay 2 for a sorcery adventure, discard your hand, and then draw 2 cards. Joanne, Apprentice Sorcerer, is a 2/5. You can look at the top card of your library at any time. Once each turn, you may cast an instant sorcery spell from the top of your library. Splashy Spellcaster, Frantic Bolt. Unruly Catapult is a 0/4 with Defender, 3 mana. Tap it to deal 1 damage to each opponent. Whenever you cast an instant sorcery spell, untap. Living Lectern is a 0/4 for 2 mana. Pay 1, sacrifice it, draw a card. Creature, create a sorcerer roll token attached to up to 1 other target creature you control. Activate only as a sorcery. Evolving Wilds. Sacrifice it, search your library for a basic land. Root Rider Fawn, 0/3 for 2, add green to your mana pool. Swamp, and the art card. Another Joanna Prentice, another Raid Bombardment. Farsight Ritual is a 4-mana instant with Bargain. Look at the top 4 cards of your library. If this spell is bargained, look at the top 8 cards instead. Put 2 of them in your hand and the rest on the bottom of your library in the order. Another Irritet's Tempting Apple. Stone Splitter Bolt. Twisted Fealty. Callous Spellsword. Cold Thief. Aquatic Chemist. 1 mana, 1/3. Whenever you cast your first instant or sorcery spell, each turn, Aquatic Chemist gets +2/+0 until end of turn. You can pay 3 for a sorcery adventure. Put target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard on top of your library. Bestowed Knight. 4 mana, 3/3. Human Knight. Betrothed Beast. Ferocious Werefox. Full Art Swamp. And our art card. Food token. Kindle Heroism, 1 mana, instant. Target creature gets +1/+0 against first strike and scry until end of turn. Griffin Eerie. Virtue of Strength. Become Brutes, 2 mana sorcery. 1 or 2 target creatures each gain haste until end of turn. For each of those creatures, create a monster will attach to it. Ruby, Daring Tracker, 2 mana, 1/2 legendary human scout with haste. Whenever Ruby Daring Tracker attacks, while you control a creature with power 4 or greater, it gets +2/+2 until end of turn. And then you can tap her to add red or green to your mana. Witchstalker Frenzy, 4 mana instant, costs 1 less to cast for each creature that attacked this turn, and it deals 5 damage to target creature. Two-Headed Hunter, 5/4 with Menace. Instant Adventure, twice the range. As a 2 mana, target creature gains double strike until end of turn. Hamlet Glutton is a 6/6 for 7 with Bargain, costs 2 less to cast with Bargain, has Trample, and when it enters the battlefield, you gain life. Voracious Vermin. Edgewall Pack is a 4 mana 3/3 with Menace. When Edgewall Pack enters the battlefield, create a 1/1 black rat creature token with this creature can't block. Ratcatcher Trainee is a 2/1 as long as it's your turn. Ratcatcher Trainee has first strike. And Pest Problem is a 3 mana instant adventure. Create 2 1/1 black rat creature tokens that can't block. Forest, and an anime arc. Beast token. Oil Warehouse Tabby. Nightly Valor is a 5-mana aura. Nightly Valor enters the battlefield, create a 2/2 white knight creature token. Enchanted creature gets +2/+2 and has vigilance. Skullduggeon Viper. The princes take flight. The princess takes flight. I gotta look. 3-mana saga that the first mode is exile up to 1 target creature. Then the second mode is target creature you control gets +2/+2 and gains flying until end of turn. And then the third mode is return exiled card to the battlefield under its owner's control. Dutiful Griffin is a 5-mana 4/4 flying. Pay 3 mana, sacrifice 2 enchantments, return Dutiful Griffin from your graveyard to your hand. Threadline Click is a 3/3 for 4 mana with flying, and its adventure is an instant called Ripstream. 3 mana to destroy target tap creature. Gadwitch First Duel is a 2-mana saga that says create a curse roll attached to target up to 1 target creature. Then the second mode is Scry 2. Third mode is when you cast your next instant or sorcery spell with a mana value 3 or less this turn, copy it. You may choose new targets for the copy. Welcome to Sweet Tooth is a 2-mana saga. First mode, create a 1/1 white human creature token. Second mode, create a food token. Third mode, put X +1/+1 counters on target creature you control, where X is 1 plus the number of foods you control. Merfolk Coralsmith is a 2/3 tap. Merfolk Coralsmith is +1/-1 until end turn, and then when Merfolk Coralsmith dies, you scry 2. Plunge into Winter is an instant. Tap up to 1 target creature, then scry 1. Crystal Grotto is a land, enters the battlefield with scry 1. Tap it for colorless mana, or you can pay 1, tap it, and add 1 mana of any color. Mountain. And we got about 9 packs. Forebearer's Blade is a 3-mana artifact equipment. Equipped creature gets +2/+0 and has vigilance and trample. Whenever a equipped creature dies, attach Forebearer's Blade to target creature you control. Living Lashern, another Garruk's Uprising. Cruel Somnomorph is a 2-mana star creature. Power and toughness is equal to the number of other creatures in all graveyards. And then Can't Wake Up is its adventure, is a sorcery for 2 mana. Target player mills 4 cards. Talon, the Nightly Lord, is a 4-mana 3/4 legendary creature, fairy noble. As Talon, Kindly Lord enters the battlefield, choose a number between 1 and 10. Whenever an opponent casts a spell with mana value, power, or toughness equal to the chosen number, that player loses 2 life and you draw a card. That sounds like a pretty fun deck to build. Agatha's Champion. Panic Ruiner. Ruby Darling Tracker. Leaping Ambush. Curse of the Werefox. Red Tooth Genealogist. Bestial Bloodline. Plains. And the Arc. treasure token. Gingerbread Hunter is a 5 mana 5/5. When Gingerbread Hunter enters the battlefield, create a food token. Has a adventure that's an instant called Puny Snack. 3 mana. Target creature gets -2/-0 until end of turn. Stab Wound is a 3 mana enchantment. Enchanted creature gets -2/-2 at the beginning of your upkeep. If enchanted creature's controller at the beginning of the upkeep of the enchanted creature's controller, that player loses 2 life. Feral Encounter, Bounty Land Ranger is a 2 mana 2/2 human ranger that says at the beginning of combat on your turn, if you control a creature with power 4 or greater, you may discard a card. If you do, draw a card. Monstrous Rage, 1 mana, target creature gets +2/+0 until end of turn. Create a monster roll token. Embereth Veteran. It's 1 mana, 2/1, sacrifice Embereth Veteran. Create a young hero roll token attached to another creature. Brave the Wilds. Rowan's Grim Search is a 3 mana instant, has bargain. If this spell was bargain, look at the top 4 cards of your library, then put up to 2 of them back on top of your library in any order, and the rest into your graveyard. Then you draw 2 cards and lose 2. Troublemaker Opay is a 2 mana 2/2 with bargain. When Troublemaker Opay enters the battlefield, it was bargained. Exile target artifact or enchantment and opponent controls. Armor Mice is a 2 mana 3/1 with celebration. Armory Mice get +0/+2 as long as 2 or more non-land permanents enter the battlefield under your control this turn. Flick a coin. Flick a coin deals 1 damage to any target, and you get a treasure token, and then you draw a card. Forest and the art card. The Adventure Zone. Throne of Eldraine is a legendary artifact. As Throne of Eldraine enters the battlefield, choose a color. And you can tap it to add 4 mana of the chosen color. Spend this mana only to cast monocolored spells of that color. You can pay 3, tap it, draw 2 cards, spend only mana of the chosen color to activate this ability. We have Dawn of Hope. 2 mana. When you gain life, you can pay 2 to draw a card. And then 4 mana, create a 1/1 white soldier creature token with lifelink. Lord Skitter, the Sewer King, is a 3 mana 3/3 legendary creature rat noble. Whenever another rat creature enters the battlefield under your control, exile up to 1 target card from an opponent's graveyard. At the beginning of combat on your turn, create a 1/1 rat creature token that can't block. Twisted Fealty. Emmadane's Recruiter is a 2/2 3 mana human knight. When it enters the battlefield, creatures you control get +1/+0 and gain haste until end of turn. Trained Troops is a 5 mana sorcery adventure. You create 2 2/2 white knight creature tokens with vigilance. Gallant Pie Wielder is a 3 mana 2/3 for first strike, has celebration. Gallant Pile Wielder gets double strike as long as 2 or more non-land permanents enter the battlefield this turn. And it's a guy in a knight costume that has a pie in each hand. It's pretty funny. Stroke of Midnight is a 3-mana instant. Destroy target non-land permanent. Its controller creates a 1/1 human, 1/1 white human creature token. Grabby Giant. Cut in. Turnvale Guide is a 2/3 for 4 mana with flying with celebration. Gets +1/+0 and has lifelink as long as 2 or more non-land permanents near the battlefield. Bespoke Battle Guard is a 2-mana equipment. Equipped creature gets +2/+0, has celebration, and at the beginning of combat on your turn, if celebration was triggered, you can attach it to another creature without paying its cost. Swamp and Arc. Bone Splitter Bolt. Unnatural Growth. Oh, that's a good one. I already have that card, but it in this art is really nice. Asinine Antics is a 4-mana sorcery. You can cast Asinine Antics as though it had flash if you cast it for 2 more. For each creature your opponent controls, create a curse roll token attached to that creature. The Witch's Vanity is a saga for 2 mana. Destroy target creature and opponent controls with mana value 2 or less. Create a food token, and then create a Wicked Roll token attached to a creature. Witchstalker Frenzy is a 3-mana. It costs 1 less to cast for each creature that attacked this turn. Deals 5 damage to target creature. Hunter, Bounty Land Ranger, Scavenger, Hopeful Vigil, Hopeless Nightmare. Wicked Visitor is a 2/2 for 2. Actually, Bullet Mountain, and the Arc. Pitlock Prankster is a 2-mana 1/3 with flying and vigilance. Has Free the Fae for 2 mana, and it's an instant adventure. Mill 4 cards, then put an instant sorcery or fairy card from among them into your hand. Raider Oromancy is a 2-mana enchantment. Other enchantments you control have Shroud, and enchanted creatures you control have Shroud. Tangled Colony is a 3/2 for 2 mana. Tangled Colony can't block. And when Tangled Colony dies, create X 1/1 black creature tokens that can't block, where X is the amount of damage dealt to it this turn. Elusive Otter is a 1-mana with Prowess. It says creatures with power less than Elusive Otter can't block it. And has a sorcery, Grove Bounty, X and green. Sorcery Venture, distribute X +1/+1 counters among any number of target creatures you control. Pest of Honor is a 3-mana 2/2 with Celebration. If you trigger celebration at the beginning of combat, put a +1/+1 counter on pests of honor. Discerning Financer is a 2/3 for 3. At the beginning of your upkeep, if an opponent controls more lands than you, create a treasure token. Pay 3, choose another player. That player gains control of target. That player gains control of target treasure you control, and you draw a card. Edgewall Inn is a land that enters the battlefield tapped. When Edgewall Inn enters the battlefield, you choose a color. It taps for that chosen color, and then you can pay 3, tap it, sacrifice it, and return target card that is an adventure from your graveyard to your hand. Tanglespan Lookout. Whenever an aura enters the battlefield under your control, draw a card. Frostbridge Guard. 2/2, you can pay 3 and tap it to tap target creature. Freeze in Place is a 2 mana that tap target creature and opponent controls, and then put 3 stun counters on it. And then you scry 2. Snare Master Sprite. Planes. And the Art card. That's 4 packs. Foil Dark Tutelage. Name your upkeep, reveal top card of your library, put it to your hand, and you lose life to its mana value. Ground Seal. Enters the battlefield, you draw a card, and then cards in graveyards can't be the target of spells or abilities. Sleep Cursed Fairy is a 3/3 for 1 mana with Flying Ward 2. When it enters the battlefield, you put 3 stun counters on it, and then you can pay 2 to untap it. Witch's Vanity. Cursed Courier. 3/3 for 3 with lifelink. And when it enters the battlefield, you put a cursed roll on a cursed roll token attached. Enters the battlefield with a cursed roll token. Taken by Nightmares is a 4 mana instant. Exile target creature. If you control an enchantment, scry 2. Ash Party Crasher is a 2 mana 2/2 with haste. Has Celebration. When it attacks, if 2 or more non-land permanents enter the battlefield under your control, put a +1/+1 counter on it. Belligerent of the Ball. Grand Ball Guest. Skewer Slingers. Stockpile Celebrant. Mountain. And there. Way of the Wilds. Another Dark Tutelage. I think it's the third Dark Tutelage we've gotten. Song of Totenaz. Great X11 Rats. Graceful Takedown. Shrouded Shepherd. Woodland Acolyte. 2/2 for 3 mana. When it enters the battlefield, draw a card. Pay 1 as an instant, called Mend the Wilds. Put target permanent card from your graveyard on top of your library. Prophetic Prism. Not Dead After All is a 1/1 instant. Until end of turn, target creature you control gains. When this creature dies, return to the battlefield tapped under its owner's control with a Wicked Rogue token. Into the Fey Court is a 5 mana sorcery. Draw 3 cards, create a 1/1 blue fairy creature token with flying. 'This creature can block only creatures with flying. Stinging Blade Assassin, Mocking Sprites, Mountain, and a signed art card. That's the third signed art card we've gotten in this box. Solidarity Sanctuary, Utopia Sprawl, that's a good one. Enchant Forest, Utopia Sprawl enters the battlefield, choose a color. Enchanted Forest taps for a mana. Its controller adds an additional 1 mana of the chosen color. Sentinel of Lost Lore, got that guy already. Petlock Prankster, back for seconds. Knight of the Sweet's Revenge is a 4 mana enchantment. When it enters the battlefield, you create a food token. Food you control have tap at green. That's pretty good. And then pay 7, sacrifice it. Creatures you control get +X until end of turn, where X is the number of food you control. Activate only as a sorcery. Tough Cookie. This is the card you were wanting, Milana. 2 mana, 2/2, artifact creature food golem. When Tough Cookie enters the battlefield, create a food token. Pay 3. Target non-creature artifact you control becomes a 4/4 artifact creature until end of turn. And then you can sacrifice them to gain 3 life. Unassuming Sage is a 2/2 for 2. Enters the battlefield, you can pay 2. If you do, create a sorcerer roll token. Kellen's Nightblade is a 2 mana instant with Bargain. Kellen's Lightblade deals 3 damage to target attacking or blocking creature. If the spell was Bargain, destroy the creature instead. Room for Reindeer is a 4 mana 3/4. Whenever an enchantment enters the battlefield under your control, tap target creature and opponent controls. Ice Out for Island and the art card. I really like the art cards in this set. Edgewall Pack. Polluted Bonds. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your opponent's control, that player loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. Hilda of the Ice Crown is a 4 mana 3/4. Whenever you tap and untap creature and opponent controls, you can pay 1. If you do choose one, create a 4/4 white and blue elemental creature, put a +1/+1 counter on a creature you control, or you can scry 2 and draw a card. Court of Lochwain is a 4 mana enchantment. When it enters the battlefield, you become the monarch. And the monarch says at the end of your, if you are the monarch, at the end of your turn, you draw a card. And to steal the monarch for somebody, you have to deal combat damage to. At the beginning of your upkeep, exile the top card of your target opponent's library. You may play that card as long as it remains exiled, and mana of any type can be spent to cast it. If you are the monarch until end of turn, you may cast a spell from among them without paying its mana cost. That's dumb. Greta, Sweet Tooth Scourge, is a 3 mana 3/3 legendary creature human warrior. When Greta Sweet Tooth Scourge enters the battlefield, create a food token. You can pay 1, sacrifice a food, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control, activate only as a sorcery. Or you can pay 2, sacrifice a food, draw a card, and lose life. Gingerbread Hunter, 3 bowls of porridge is a 2-mana artifact food. Pay 2, tap it and choose one that hasn't been chosen. 3 bowls of porridge deals 2 damage to target creature. Tap target creature, or sacrifice 3 bowls of porridge and gain 3 life. Merry Bards is a 3-mana 3/2. When Merry Bards enters the battlefield, you can pay 1. When you do, create a young hero role token attached to a target creature you control. Shattered Oath is a 5-mana sorcery. Destroy target creature or enchantment. Create a Wicked Roll token attached to up to 1 target creature you control. Irritet's Whisper, sorcery. Whenever target opponent discards 2 cards, create a Wicked Roll token attached to up to 1 target creature you control. Kindred Heroism, Plains, and the last arc. So that was all the packs.